Hi there, welcome to this week midweek market analysis. So as usual, what we're going to do is to walk you through some of these charts over here and highlight some of these opportunities that you want to keep an eye on. Now, first off, let's start off with the dollar index. So at the beginning of the week, we kind of see the dollar actually bounce off very nicely from the 618 Fibonacci retracement, and as of now, we're expecting another push back up, potentially back towards 103.05 or 103 even level. So this is going to give us a complete 1, 2, 3 structure after a 5-wave move. So over here, at least for the remaining part of this week, any small little decent correction will be seen as a buy opportunity. So you definitely want to keep an eye on the dollar related pairs, okay? Because if this is going to give us a pullback maybe today, then tomorrow, Friday, or even going into early next week, we may get this very nice little move back towards 103. Okay, so this is more of a short-term trade, riding on the dollar strength. Now, if you look at euro, okay, yesterday we did get this little push, but of course, prior to that, we did not see as clear a structure as compared to the dollar index itself. So if you did not get involved in any sell trade on euro, okay, I think you probably can give it another 1 or 2 days, maybe today or tomorrow. If you can see a decent correction over here, that's where you can actually look to trade this to the downside. Now, euro is not as clear. I mean, euro dollar over here, this chart is not as clear as the dollar index. It may turn into more of a complex structure if you can see market being supported around this recent low, right? Because that can then turn into this as a 1, 2, 3, and this may start to open up more upside after which. So if you're looking at euro here, okay, any decent corrective pullback, of course, can be seen as a short-term sell, but your primary target, maybe TP1, you want to definitely keep an eye on around 1.0909 or 1.0910. And if suppose the market is able to break through that impulsively, then of course that opens up more downside towards this level here. So dollar index has a very clear structure. Dollar index has a very clear direction that we can focus. But euro dollar over here is a little bit, I would say, a little bit tricky, okay, because of the overall structure. And of course, that may also be contributed to the fact that we have euro in play on this currency here, right? So short term, any pullback can be seen as a sell. Okay, just be more active in managing your sell positions, at least with the target in mind at 1.0910. Okay, next on GBP USD, I've actually updated this a little bit, okay, because prior to today, we're actually looking at this as a 4th wave and then expectation of another move back to complete the 5th wave. But looking at how the price or market has already spent some time developing this corrective structure, okay, in relation to this recent high and this push down, what we may be seeing over here is potentially again, you know, not as clear cut. There are various scenarios that may play out. One way to look at it, of course, is what I've drawn. So 3 and 5 is done. This is the high as of now, and we're expecting a 1, 2, 3. And this may start to open up more downside, right? Alternatively, we also need to be careful because this can easily be just an ABC, okay, break and kind of like tag this area, and then we start to go another high, right? So if that's the case, you know, you want to definitely keep an eye on that level. Okay, so for now, my suggestion is watch out for this recent low around 1.2340. If price is able to break that off impulsively, then yes, we may look for more downside. But if let's say what we get is just basically a break and then some kind of a rejection, you know, or you can term it as a fake break, that will quickly rotate our bias towards this potentially as a correction, and then we can look for more upside on pound dollar. Right, so short term, looking and focusing on bearish view, but we'll need to be quite adaptive in what the market's going to let us know maybe in a couple of days, right? So that's on pound. And next up we have the Aussie dollar. Now Aussie dollar, I'm neutral right now. Again, you know, most of this major, while the dollar is clear, I think most of this major here is a little bit of a mix. So Aussie dollar here, we came back and test this. Now, can this turn into just a regular flat of a 1, 2, 3, and then this starts to bounce higher with a leading diagonal wave 1 here? Possible. Okay, now alternatively, what can happen over here is this can also develop into a crawl and eventually still look for more upside as a expanding flat, right? So that's another possibility. And of course, we also need to be looking at it from a point of view where this may be the correction itself, and if this does a correction here, then this opens up more downside. So I think for Aussie dollar, my suggestion is don't jump too quickly into a trade, don't commit to any setup as of now, but maybe give it another 2-3 days, right? By the end of this week, maybe going into next week, depending on how market is developing, we may get some clearer structure that we can look for trade opportunities. Okay, so Aussie dollar over here, just maintain a neutral point of view as of now. Okay, then we have dollar Canadian. Now, of all the major pairs here, I think dollar Canadian is the one that is moving off very nicely since I think last week, right? So this definitely is an impulse, right? There's no doubt about it. Okay, but again, for us, we don't want to just jump in when the market is at the high. So what we're waiting off essentially is a 3-wave pullback. If we can get that, we'll definitely be looking for one more push, right, to complete that 1, 2, 3. Now this may take time, and I don't think you're gonna get it, anything within this week, because for this to come down, it naturally takes time, right? So you just need to be patient, wait for it. The setup may come to us maybe next week. Okay, so have this in your radar, but I don't think you don't want to pay too much attention to it as of now. Okay. Then we have the dollar yen. So dollar yen over here, market is still basically trading below this recent high, which is great. We're still looking at it from a perspective of an impulse correction, so we're expecting another drop back towards that recent low. But one thing to keep an eye on and see how the market is going to develop from here is, of course, this can turn into a flag structure, and we may still see this push back towards 135 before another drop, right? So you need to be aware of some of these possibilities, okay, and potential scenarios, and of course manage to trade accordingly to that. Okay, the bias is still down, so we're definitely still focused on sell opportunities. We're still focusing on sell trade, but we just need to be well planned ahead, right? In the event that the market doesn't go in accordance to what we want, we can very quickly adapt our plans and manage the positions along the way. Okay, so for now, more downside. You definitely want to keep an eye on around 132.40 because we may see some reaction from there, maybe a deeper retracement before another drop and sort. So you may consider like maybe taking partial profits of this, and then your full target is at the bottom at 129.65. Okay, so that's on Aussie. That's on dollar yen. And then we have gold. So gold over here has been consolidating for the week. Okay, we are still expecting one more push down to complete that 1, 2, 3, and then of course back towards this level around 1950. And if we can get that, that would ideally complete the entire structure of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ABC, right? And then we'll look for more upside from there on. So if you're looking at gold here, short term we are looking at sell opportunities, and then after which, if the market can come back towards 1950, okay, then that's where we'll be looking for potential buy opportunities from there on. Okay, so this one here, it may still pull back a little bit, maybe towards 2009, 2018, okay, kind of price range before that rejection, right? So short term, if you're interested in gold, you can consider focus on the sell trade opportunity towards a target in 1950. Okay, crude oil over here, I've also updated this a little bit. Okay, so as of now, we're seeing this as a potential 5th wave done. This is quite impulsive. The market seems to be developing a corrective structure. So I've updated this to look at it from a perspective of an impulse, and then if we can get a corrective structure here, we look for a third move down, right? So this here, you may or may not get this set up within the week. Maybe by end of this week, if the market does this, then of course somewhere around this area, around $80 to $80.90. You can look for a sell trade opportunity. Suppose this goes correctively. Okay, target is around $73.80. So that's on crude oil. S&P here update as well. I think overall nothing much has changed since we have look at it. I would say last week to this week, early this week, right? Overall, again, certain things that you can pick up from the market. Okay, every time you see a corrective kind of move like that, you know that the direction may not be very sustainable, and we always expect this, right? So we are getting that, and we're coming pretty close to that previous low, right? And so far, the analysis and forecast over here is this may turn into an expanding flat for another pushback up to complete that 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? So we're getting very close to this level, 4068. Keep an eye on that. Of course, you don't want to just buy it immediately, but the idea is if you can get a crawl here, then that will be a pretty decent structure for us to trade to the upside. Now, if the market just breaks through this, obviously you don't want to jump in and buy, right? Okay, so you naturally need to look at how the market is going to react around this zone at 4068. Okay, so we're getting close to that. If you can get a crawl, maybe by the end of this week, and next week we may look to buy the S&P back up. Right, over here, very quickly jump on one of this setup over here on Aussie Yen. Now, if you manage to take this, perfect. If not, you can still learn something from it. Okay, so why we are in the sell is basically we're looking at it from perspective of this is an impulse. Okay, again, one move down and then this move up is, yeah, it's going up, but it's very, very corrective in nature, right? So very similar to the setup and structure from S&P, right? So again, you can see pattern tends to repeat itself. And for that reason, we're looking at more of this, right? And of course, we were patient as the market was developing this. We did not buy, we did not immediately jump in the sell either. But what we were waiting for is essentially this push down, and then this corrective started to develop. And for me, I took the breakout, okay, and managed to ride this pretty neat, right? So these are those types of trades that I would say almost close to perfection, because once you get trigger, there wasn't much of a drawdown, and then immediately the price moved in the direction that we want, impulsively, fairly quick, great. We shift our stops to break even, right? And of course, right now we're looking at potential target around this zone to complete that expanding flat again for potential move back up. Okay, so if you manage to ride on this, then great. Just manage your position as I mentioned. If you don't jump in here right now, because again, your risk to reward ratio may not be that nice. And if you're not in the trade, again, just use this as a learning point, right? For you to actually understand in the future, if you see something similar, you can always capitalize on it again. Now, last one here is on BTC. Now, Bitcoin over here, there may be a possibility we may see another pushback down towards this low. Naturally, it doesn't need to do it also, because if you look at it from a range area perspective, we're kind of around there anyway, right? But of course, we wouldn't want to be buying up right now. That's not a buy structure. That's not a buy setup. So for me, I'm actually waiting, right, to see if we can get this. If we can get this, then of course we'll see if we can get a buy structure around that zone at the lower price point. So for me, short term, I'm still waiting and see if we can get that. If not, if this just goes up impulsively, of course we'll shift our bias. We'll wait for the correction, and then we'll start to look for buy, and then we can just take it as this is done. Alright, so that's my view on Bitcoin. Cool, so that's all for me for this week's update over here. Okay, all the best to trading, and I'll see you guys soon again.